The Lord of the Rings. Return of the King. Book 6. Sam awakes outside of the tower having knocked himself out trying to get in. There's no way in through the door, so he must find the main entrance. Inside the tower he hears the orcs fighting each other. As Sam looks down on Mordor, the ring tempts him with ideas of being a grand leader and being able to turn the whole realm into his garden. Sam isn't very tempted though, and he knows he shouldn't use the ring inside Mordor for he would be seen immediately. Sam continues on and tries to go to the main gates but is stopped by an invisible force. There are stone watchers that prevent him from entering. He pulls out the file of Galadriel and it's like cows the watchers, and he passes by them. Unfortunately, when he puts the file away, the watchers raise an alarm. As he enters the main gate, he sees many orcs slain about the place. When Sam reaches the top of the tower, he hears two orcs fighting. The captain of the orcs comes down and Sam bursts in on him. The orc runs with the mithril shirt which the orcs have been fighting over. Sam must make a decision of whether to chase the orc down or continue to find Frodo. He chooses to look for Frodo. The other orc is in the highest tower about ready to torture Frodo. Enraged, he cuts the orc's whip hand off. In the fight the orc trips and falls through the trapdoor and dies. Sam helps Frodo. Frodo is afraid that everything has been taken by the orcs including the ring. Sam reveals that he has the ring and Frodo demands it back and even accuses Sam of stealing. Frodo immediately regrets his words and Sam understands. Sam decides they need to dress like orcs in order to go into Mordor, so he heads out to find some orc clothes that will fit them. As they leave the tower they are stopped by the watchers and Sam must use the file of Galadriel again to get past, but when he does the watchers wail and it attracts one of the Nazgul. The hobbit must run, but they are going the wrong way since orcs will be coming up the road rather than down. They find a place to get off the road just as orcs ride toward the tower. When they are safe, they continue on. As they go, they see the clouds begin to break up and hear the wails of the Witch King. Frodo and Sam don't have much choice but to take the northern road used by the orcs even though they need to go east. On the road they hear two orcs coming and quickly hide. The orcs are quarreling, and it soon turns into a fight to the death. From the exchange Sam and Frodo learn that Gollum is still alive. They continue on and try to leave the road but there are no good paths off it. Then they hear the sound of marching coming down the road. They cannot hide and so they sit down beside the road hoping not to be noticed, but unfortunately, they are noticed, and the captain of the orcs forces them to join the march. They cannot escape the march for the captain is keeping a close eye on them since he thinks they are deserters. Then multiple companies join up together and fights break out. Sam seizes the chance to escape while the orcs are distracted. They find their way into a small crack where they end up getting some sleep. Sam does some thinking and realizes that they only have enough provisions to make it to their goal, but they'll have nothing for the way back. This only stiffens Sam's resolve to do what must be done. They continue on the road getting closer and closer to the Black Tower. Eventually they must turn back toward the south across the valley to Mount Doom. As they are about to head across the valley, they know that they don't need many of the things that they have. They abandon most of their gear and the hardest part for Sam to part with is his cooking gear even though he's had very little need of it, and there will no longer be any need of it going forward. As they cross the valley there is no water to be had and both hobbits get weaker as they travel. Especially Frodo, who must bear the physical and mental burden of the ring. By the time they reach the foot of the mountain Frodo seems to have no strength left and so Sam carries Frodo up the mountain. Sam carries Frodo until he can no longer walk and crawls instead. When Sam can no longer continue, he stops and puts Frodo down. Sam looks ahead and sees a path cut up the mountain. Sam suddenly has a feeling that they must continue on now or fail. Frodo insists that he can go on without being carried, but they must both crawl. Suddenly they feel the eye of Sauron on them. Frodo has no will left to resist the ring and asks Sam to keep his hands from going to the ring. When the feeling passes, they try to go on, but just then Gollum attacks. He attacks Frodo, and despite Frodo's previous weakness he fights with renewed strength. It might have gone worse, but Gollum is in even worse condition than Frodo. Frodo commands Gollum with the will of the ring behind him, and Gollum bows down. Frodo must go on and leaves Gollum and Sam behind. Sam wants to kill Gollum, but, in the end, Sam pities him and lets him go. Sam hurries to catch up to Frodo. Sam finds Frodo, but Frodo declares he will claim the ring as his own and puts the ring on. Suddenly Sam is struck on the head and falls to the side. When Frodo puts the ring on, its master is alerted, and Sauron realizes his folly. He bends all of his will to send a Nazgul south to Mount Doom. In that moment all of his armies despair and falter. Blood flows into Sam's eyes as he watches Gollum fighting an invisible Frodo. Then suddenly Frodo becomes visible, and Gollum removes the ring from the finger he had bitten off. In his joy Gollum does not see the edge and slips over into the fires of Mount Doom. Far away to the north Gandalf and the armies of men hold out against the host of Mordor. Then Gandalf looks into the sky and shouts that the eagles are coming. When the eagles arrive, they begin to attack the Nazgul, but the Nazgul suddenly turn and head back into Mordor called by their master. The black gates begin to crumble, and the host of Mordor begins to scatter. Gandalf calls to the leader of the eagles and asks him to bear him to Mount Doom. Frodo and Sam leave the tunnels and begin to head down the mountain, but the mountain erupts, and they are left on an island in the midst of ash and fire with no hope left. That is where the eagles find them and lift them away. Sam awakes in a bed with Frodo beside him and Gandalf watching over them. Sam is amazed to see Gandalf, since the last time he had seen him he was falling with the Balrog. Sam and Frodo must go see the king. When they come out, they are praised by the entire host of men, and when they come before the king it is the man they once knew as Strider. It is Aragorn, and he honors them by bowing to them and placing them in his place of honor. They are presented with a feast, and they meet the members of the Fellowship again. Merry and Pippin and Legolas and Gimli. They speak of their journeys. Back in Minas Tirith, Éowyn is still in the healing house. She meets with Faramir in the hopes of getting leave to go to war, but Faramir cannot give her leave to go. As the days go by, Faramir and Éowyn get closer and closer. Faramir tells Éowyn of his growing love for her, and he asked her if she could not love him. Eventually she admits that she can. Soon after, an eagle arrives to announce that Sauron has been defeated. When the armies of men return to Minas Tirith, Faramir is there to meet Aragorn and give him the crown. Aragorn insists that Frodo bring him the crown and for Gandalf to put it upon his head. In the days after his crowning, Aragorn begins to restore Gondor. On Midsummer Day the elves Elrond, Celeborn, and Galadriel along with their people arrive, and they have come to escort Arwen to be Aragorn's bride. Then Theoden King is taken back to his home in Rohan, where he is buried with his kinsmen. Éomer announces that his sister Éowyn will be wed to Faramir. From there they head to Isengard and learn that Saruman is still alive. Gandalf believes that he is still capable of causing mischief, but he doesn't blame Treebeard for allowing the wizard to go. The Hobbit continues on with the elves, and on the way, they meet Saruman and Wormtongue, who look like beggars. Gandalf offers them one last chance, but Saruman spurns Gandalf. Eventually, as they go along the road, Celeborn and Galadriel must head back to Lothlorien. The company continues on to Rivendell. When they arrive in Rivendell, the first thing the hobbits want to do is see Bilbo. He is now 129 and his age is showing. He is very sleepy, and as they tell their tale he often nods off and they must restart. Bilbo asks Frodo to finish his book for him since he has a hard time of it now. The hobbits eventually want to go home and so they leave Rivendell with Gandalf. On the way Frodo has a bad day on the anniversary of being stabbed by the Morgul blade and again when they come to Weathertop. When they arrive at Bree, they are not welcomed very well until the gatekeeper sees that it is Gandalf and the hobbits. They learn from the innkeeper at the Prancing Pony that times have been very hard lately. The good news is that Bill the pony had come back alive and well. This makes Sam happy to no end. They continue on to the Shire, but Gandalf tells them that he's not going to continue with them. He intends to go see Tom Bombadil and have a long talk with him. When the hobbits make it to Buckland they are barred from entry. They learn that the chief Lotho Baggins has been working with ruffians and has been oppressing the hobbits. Everywhere the hobbits go they learn more rules, and on the road, they are arrested but they only go along with the sheriffs because they're going to Hobbiton anyway. It doesn't even appear like they've been arrested but instead it is as though they are escorting the sheriffs. Eventually they outpace the sheriffs and leave them behind. When they make it to Hobbiton the ruffians remind them of the men from Isengard. Frodo decides that they must fight and that the hobbits must rise up right then and there. Merry sounds his bugle while Pippin goes to the Took clan and Sam goes to Farmer Cotton's farm to bring more fighters. There he sees Rosie Cotton and she is very happy to see Sam back. Soon many of the hobbits gather together and the ruffians come to enforce order, but the hobbits retaliate and kill their leader. The rest run. The next day more than 100 ruffians come together. The ruffians end up walking right into the hobbits' trap. In a lane with hedges hundreds of hobbits encircle the men. It comes to a fight and the hobbits kill many of the ruffians and drive them off, though 19 hobbits are killed in the battle. The hobbits head toward Bag End and the closer they get the worse things become. Practically all trees have been cut down including the party tree where Bilbo had had his birthday party. The hobbits come to Bag End and open the door, but no one is inside. Behind them Saruman steps into the door. Unfortunately for Saruman he has no power left and if the hobbits wanted, they could kill him, but Frodo lets him live. Saruman does not like Frodo's pity and tries to stab Frodo, but he is stopped. Frodo still allows him to go. Saruman insists that Wormtongue come along with him, but Frodo tells Wormtongue that he does not have to go with Saruman. Saruman begins to berate Wormtongue. This seems to be the last straw for Wormtongue, and he kills Saruman, and the hobbits kill Wormtongue before Frodo can stop them. After it is all over the hobbits begin to repair Hobbiton and drive all the ruffians out of the Shire. Sam uses his gift from Galadriel to help hasten the regrowth and plants a seed where the party tree had been. The next year a golden Mollorn tree grows. The only one west of the Misty Mountains. A year after the battle Sam and Rosie Cotton get married and move into Bag End with Frodo. More time passes and Sam has his first child with Rosie. During this time Frodo works on the book and when he is done, he asks Sam to accompany him for a while on his way to Rivendell to see Bilbo one last time. They go and meet Elrond along with many elves and Bilbo. Sam realizes that Frodo intends to go across the sea to the Undying Lands with the elves. When they arrive at the Grey Havens, they meet Gandalf who will be going with them. Merry and Pippin arrive as well since Gandalf knew that Sam would need company on the way home. Sam watches forlornly as the ship sail into the west before the three hobbits head home to the Shire once again.